When David went to Ahimelech the high priest and secured Goliath's sword, he was seen by one of Saul's servants. His name was Doeg, an Edomite, the chiefest of the herdmen that belonged to Saul, verse 7 of chapter 21. He reported the incident to Saul and then willingly carried out Saul's command to kill all the priests in revenge. Today we're going to read about the aftermath of this slaughter from 1 Samuel chapter 22 and verses 20 to 23. And one of the sons of Ahimelech, the son of Ahitub, named Abiathar, escaped and fled after David. And Abiathar showed David that Saul had slain the Lord's priests. And David said unto Abiathar, I knew it that day when Doeg the Edomite was there, that he would surely tell Saul, I have occasioned the death of all the persons of thy father's house. Abide thou with me, fear not, for he that seeketh my life seeketh thy life, but with me thou shalt be in safeguard. Fleeing from Saul at this stage of his life was the beginning of a period of time, maybe lasting 5 or 6 years, during which David became a fugitive. At the start of this chapter we read that David escaped to the cave of Adullam, verse 1, where he was joined by everyone that was in distress and everyone that was in debt and everyone that was discontented, verse number 2. This band of 400 men, which later grew to around 600, was constantly on the move from place to place as Saul mounted a number of expeditions to seek him out and to destroy him. The king whom the nation wanted to go out before us and fight our battles, chapter 8 verse 20, had descended into a man possessed with a determination to hang on to the throne at all costs, should it mean the destruction of the priesthood, the elimination of the man who had liberated the nation from the terror of Goliath and who had served the king faithfully in battle. The battles that preoccupied Saul now were not battles with the Philistines, the enemy of God's people, but with his own countrymen. The warning of Paul is very appropriate in this situation. If ye bite and devour one another, take heed that ye be not consumed one of another. Galatians chapter 5 and verse 15. Now David chided himself when he heard of the killing of the priests. I knew it that day when Doeg the Edomite was there, that he would surely tell Saul, is what he said in verse 22. But David was not simply a man full of regrets. He put himself under an obligation to help those who had been so dreadfully wronged. Abiathar the priest, the only man to survive the purge of the priesthood, came to David, and David promised him, Abide thou with me, fear not, with me thou shalt be in safeguard, verse 23. David was a shepherd who had a genuine shepherd heart. That was the reason why so many people came to him at the cave of Adullam. That was the reason why Abiathar escaped and fled after David in verse 20. He knew where his welfare would be sought. When Paul wrote about Timothy, he wrote these words, I have no man like-minded who will naturally care for your state, Philippians chapter 2 verse 20. Of Titus, Paul wrote about one who had the same earnest care for you, 2 Corinthians chapter 8 verse 16. And Paul underlines that in the assembly of God's people, the members should have the same care one for another, 1 Corinthians 12 verse 25. So let us seek the welfare of God's people. Let us embrace our responsibility to serve others. And let us be known as believers who can be relied upon to care for all those who are in need. Let us have hearts that have shepherd care for everyone.